Hey folks, today is Friday, February 2nd, 2024. As usual, my name is Jake Baldino, here to talk about all the video game news that has been going on this week. It's quite a week, so let's just jump in with the first thing we often do here. Feast your eyes on some really good graphics. This comes from MAWI United. We have highlighted them before and shown them off before, but essentially what they have here is a real-time, running demonstration of one of the most beautiful video game forests I've seen in Unreal Engine 5 with all the bells and whistles, and this is legit. Like I said, we've shown off their work before, but this one is on another level. If you want to view it in its full glory, I'll link that in the description down below, as well as all the other stories I talk about, of course. But the nitty gritty is that this is photogrammetry scanned assets, high-res nanite foliage. It's using the Lumen dynamic lighting, virtual shadow maps. There is player foliage interaction, like you can see when the camera brushes up against foliage. It is a 4 square kilometer map, so it's pretty impressive stuff. And basically what this shows, all those things I just described, those are all the Unreal Engine 5 tech buzzwords. They're not really buzzwords, they're more tools that game developers can use. And we heard all those words and shown off, and they were shown off when Unreal Engine 5 was announced, but now here's someone using it in a real-time application. We used to talk about crazy Unreal tech demos and stuff years ago where it never really felt like we would actually see that in a game, but now I think the window is slowly shortening. I don't know, that's just me though, so let me know what you guys think. Now, in other news, let's talk about the Nintendo Switch 2 for a minute, because it has been in the rumor mills a lot recently. It seems more and more like it's a pretty likely thing for 2024. With a new report from Bloomberg speaking to analysts saying that Nintendo is planning to ship 10 million Nintendo Switch 2s in the next fiscal year. So there's that, of course, which backs up the rumors we've talked about in previous weeks. But on the other hand, I saw a pretty interesting headline about maybe the Nintendo Switch being too successful, almost too successful for its own good, with some analysts talking about how they don't expect this Switch 2 to perform or sell as well as the original Nintendo Switch, specifically because that install base is just so strong, so deeply rooted. Their explanation for this has to do with financial boring stuff involving stock prices and stuff, but also the fact that if the Nintendo Switch 2 rumors are correct, and it's really just kind of an upgrade, a tweak, a successor to the original Nintendo Switch and not a completely new weird Nintendo thing, that means there might generate less excitement around it. To be honest, I don't know. Sometimes Nintendo stuff is, and how people react to it is very hard to predict. Plus, with how many non-hardcore people are into Nintendo and Nintendo Switch, I find that even harder to predict. That's always been my gaming news blind spot, if I'm being honest. So we don't know for sure, but they were interesting headlines, and I think the biggest thing to take away from it is that it does really feel like we're going to see the Nintendo Switch 2 this year. It's been cooking on many years, and all the good rumors and all the speculation is really just slotting into place. I've been around long enough to kind of see and feel this stuff stirring in the air. But I could be wrong. I'm just some guy. I don't really know anything. I'm just on YouTube talking. And speaking of things I didn't see coming, at least in terms of this big of a success, it is Palworld. Yes, the newest Palworld update is that it's at 19, almost 20 million players with a whopping 12 million copies of the game sold on Steam. This thing is a juggernaut. People have been playing it. People have been loving it. I think it's pretty fun, despite some flaws. And it is definitely filling a need for some people that wanted a new crazy spin on Pokemon formula, but also a survival game that doesn't... It's a lot. There's not enough time to talk about it in this video, but chances are you probably checked it out already. And interestingly enough, it seems like Xbox has also checked it out, specifically with them coming out and saying that it is the biggest third-party Game Pass game launch ever. So the biggest third-party publisher game that is on Game Pass. So Xbox and Microsoft have stated that they plan to support Palworld. I guess invest resources in it to do things like, better servers, faster updates, and, improvements to the game. So I would expect to see things ramp up pretty quickly, because it seemed like Palworld was initially a pretty small team, but now with the influx of success and money, hopefully things can get even better, because like as much as I think the game is cool, I think there's potential for a lot more. Switching gears over to the PlayStation side, just a quick catch up. Sony did have a state of play earlier this week. Now, we did a whole separate breakout video of all the announcements. I will link that. But some of the highlights were a big, lengthy story trailer for Death Stranding 2, which is now officially titled On the Beach. We know it's coming officially in 2025, and it seems pretty zany, man. There's a lot more wild stuff going on, and as someone who really liked Death Stranding, the story is where it kind of lost me towards the end, and I still have no idea what's happening here. But Troy Baker's character Higgs is back, and more like Cyborg Ninja Metal Gear Solid, the Crow guitar axe weapon guy. It's wild, and I'm really into it. It's a lot of words. It's a lot of crazy things. I mean, this game, who knows what the deal is with this? It's funny because they build all this crazy world and these crazy characters, but it's all centered around just you being a scuzzy guy carrying a bunch of packages. And a weird puppet. What's with that puppet? The puppet that kind of looks like Alan Wake. Yeah. What's going on there? We also got new looks at Stellar Blade, Dragon's Dogma 2, Helldivers, which is pretty soon anyway. A new look at Silent Hill 2 with no release date yet. And I don't know, this trailer was a little iffy for me, but you know, the jury's still out. I'm not going to totally judge it until I play it. But also we got a release of Silent Hill, The Short Message, which is like a downloadable free-to-play game. I haven't checked it out yet, but it's out now. We also got Metro Awakening, a PSVR 2 game, and a look at Judas. Ken Levine, the creator of BioShock, his next game, and it looks pretty awesome. It definitely looks like a BioShock type thing, but I'm very interested to see more. We got a new release, or like re-release, of Sonic Generations, but with new Shadow the Hedgehog content, and a bunch of Rise of the Ronin gameplay, which graphically doesn't look as good as I had initially kind of expected or saw from the trailers, but gameplay-wise, it does look pretty cool. Really excited for that one. But the biggest news, at least for me personally, as the Metal Gear weirdo, is that Sony and Hideo Kojima Productions, have announced that they have partnered up for Kojima Productions to take on a new stealth action game, an action espionage game. Once again, returning to what he started with Metal Gear. It's going to be a new IP. It's going to be a totally new thing, and the code name right now for it is Fizzant. And they said a bunch of buzzwords. They said it's going to be like a movie, it's going to be like a game, it's going to be interesting. And they said that they are going to start working on this game after production ends on Death Stranding 2. So it's still a ways away, but as someone who likes Hideo Kojima, and his wacky hijinks is great, but at the end of the day, I just really love Metal Gear Solid. So for him to take a new approach at something like that, a stealth action game, cool. Let's see what you got, man. Also, next week is Steam Next Fest, February 5th. But we've already been getting some looks at some new, smaller games and some demos worth pointing out. From Devolver Digital, I wanted to highlight this one. It's called Children of the Sun. There's a demo out now, and essentially it's a sniper puzzle game where you control the sniper bullet. It seems really creative, a good spin on something like Super Hot, but not. I just like some of the things that Devolver puts out. They think differently. Also, there's a demo for Tales of Kanzera. This was the game that was revealed during the Game Awards just a few weeks back. That demo is also available now. Looking forward to trying to find time to check that out. But yeah, like I said, Steam Next Fest starts February 5th. We haven't talked about it enough on this channel, but it's always a big thing. So February 5th, and then like for quite a few days after that, there's going to be stuff rolling out on Steam for you to check out, developer interviews and stuff like that. So if you're looking for something to do, I definitely recommend that, especially if you are the people who comment that you're bored of modern games. There are still so many interesting games releasing. You just gotta find them. And some things I wanted to link in the description down below, just some trailers and videos. The first is Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 2 gameplay. We got a gameplay deep dive here, and it looks good. It looks like a good game. It doesn't totally have the feel I was looking for from a Bloodlines 2. I don't think I'm in the minority of that. I don't think that's like a hot take or anything. It seems like fun, but if you play the original, or at least was aware of the original, this seems kind of different, a bit of an offshoot, and it does make sense from the development change-ups and shake-ups that this game has had, but we're just going to have to wait and see on this one. The whole gameplay is linked below if you want to judge for yourself. Also, a leaked Call of Duty campaign from years back from Neversoft, the developers behind the Tony Hawk's Pro Skater games. Of course, they were part of Activision and that whole thing, and at some point they were working on a Call of Duty campaign, and it was a space sci-fi one, which ultimately ended up being a thing, but this was essentially a different prototype. And it's pretty interesting if you want to check it out. Just something for like the video game history archives. You know, I like when stuff like this is unearthed. It's cool that Neversoft like worked on Call of Duty campaign, like, because it's like their company, they're over, but like, what if it was like Call of Duty but Tony Hawk?
It's like Snake on the big shell skateboarding.
Exactly.
Call of Duty.
But with guns, like with like 80, like you're on a skateboard, but like you can ADS. You're welcome. You know, the idea is just they write themselves. Also, happy Suicide Squad week. Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League is out. I linked our before you buy video down in the description. Long story short, I don't like the game. I think some of the gameplay concepts are actually pretty good, but the live service model doesn't work for the game here. I did not like that. And also, the story disappointed me. But see for yourself. The before you buy video is linked in the description down below. Shout out to you guys who have watched it already. And also, released this week, I linked a trailer for Enshrouded, a game that we haven't highlighted enough, but it does seem like people are certainly digging it. Also, P3 Persona 3 Reload is this weekend, so good luck with that. See you in a long time, because that is a big-ass JRPG. Also, just a cool thing to highlight, Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth is the fastest-selling game in the Yakuza series. That's pretty crazy. That's big for them. I like these games, so I'm happy to see that. But it's interesting. These last two games have been such a big shift from the previous games that I guess this is what helped start really kicking up its success. I think that, and also like a low roar, slow buildup of word of mouth. Really, since Yakuza 0 came here, and like I remember playing that and being like, this is crazy, you guys gotta check this out. And then it just really, not like I was at the start of that, but like it just felt like at around that time, it was a slow build towards like the Western embracing of the Yakuza games. And now we're at this point where it's like a crazy game where you're a guy on Hawaii with no clothes. And people are loving it. I'm looking forward to playing it. But one last thing I did want to highlight is a little documentary, little investigation for The Day Before and what went wrong. This is a really good investigative collaboration between a German website and also the YouTube channel Game2. I linked that video in the description down below. It is German, I believe, and you have to have subtitles on, but it is pretty interesting to talk to some of the people behind the game, and actually like what it could have been is kind of interesting. Yeah, highly recommend checking that out. But for right now, that's all we got. We got to get back to playing some games. I got some before you buy videos in the works. So let me know in the comments what you think about everything from this week. State of play, of course, what you're playing this weekend, your Suicide Squad hot take, because everybody has one. The Unreal Engine 5 tech demo, those beautiful graphics of that forest. Let's talk about anything in the gaming news world down in the comments. Of course, we'll be down there as much as possible, but if you ever want to yell at me directly, you can find me on my YouTube channel, Jake Baldino. That's where I talk more in depth about other stuff. But thank you guys for being here. We're here every single Friday to get you caught up on the news. So yeah, have a great weekend. Be well, be safe. I'm Jake Baldino. See you guys next time. Pizza's on me.